Because when you look at the sheer votes that were cast in the support of this bill, it was done in a bipartisan support. So again, repeat this, that the people of Louisiana in a bipartisan measure spoke through this bill. I also believe that the people of this state back in last year envisioned exactly what we are standing here to do. They elected the Attorney General and placed their confidence in Liz Murriill firmly because they believed that she was the right person to be able to defend their liberties, their constitutional rights, and their way of life. As she spoke about, Moses has always been the original lawgiver. We see his face, the only full face that we see on the U.S. House of Representatives. The Ten Commandments displayed on the back of the Supreme Court building. Every morning that the United States House opens up for business, it opens up in a prayer. And yet we deny, our government in some fashion denies our citizens the right to appreciate the very things that those that they elect to the highest offices or are appointed to the highest offices can endorse. And so I just, again, I just wanted to come here to show my support. I can tell you that the Attorney General has the full support of the governor's office, the full support of the legislature as we make our way through implementing this law. And I also believe that those school districts that heed the advice of the counsel of the Attorney General, I feel that we will be absolutely successful in upholding this law. And with that, I'll turn it over to the agenda.
Thank you all for being here. We'll take any questions if you have any questions.
Ms. Murriill, how much money have we budgeted for this fight? And are your attorneys going to be handling it, or have you contracted that out to an outside law firm?
Internally, we're handling it internally through my Solicitor General's staff. And you can see what fantastic work they do when you read their brief this afternoon when it's filed. So all handling it internally. I don't have any budget created specifically for outside counsel.
Governor, you said that Americans are being denied what is practiced in the U.S. House, such as the prayer in the morning. Are you saying that there should be prayer allowed in public schools as well?
Well, what I'm saying is there actually are prayers in public schools right now because kids have they don't leave their First Amendment at the door of schoolhouses when they get there. We published a book back when I was Attorney General on the religious rights of students. What I'm saying is that if we start from a moral perspective, okay, then maybe we'd have a little bit more peace in our society and in this country. I mean, we have seen when we place our faith in those moral commandments. Again, the Ten Commandments is not symbolic of any one particular religion. Many religions share and recognize the Ten Commandments as a whole. So really and truly, I don't see what the whole big fuss is about.
And may I ask either of you, for the children who may not believe in God and see this in their classroom, or parents who are upset that they may be in their child's classroom, what should they do?
Well, here's what I would say. I think we've forgotten in this country that democracy actually means majority rules. For some kind of way over the last 2 decades or so, for whatever reason, our government has flipped the script, or the people believe that we flipped the script. When you elect people, you elect them by a majority. That majority gets to rule. That does not mean that if you don't like something, you have a right to impose that which the majority likes. And so what I would say to those parents is that if those posters in school and they find them so vulgar, just tell the child not to look at it.
Well, and I would just point out that the legislature passed a law. The law has been challenged in a court, and they've made certain allegations about that law. I'm here to show you that we can apply this law constitutionally. And so, you're asking a question that's a bigger question, I think a larger question that goes beyond the boundaries of the litigation. And, that's a legislative policy decision. And I think that the legislature, in passing this law, I perceived it as a statement that the legislature and a representation of the people that all of those legislators represent are frustrated. They are frustrated with the lack of discipline in our schools. They're frustrated with the inability of the whole system at this point to impose some rules of order. And so they went back to one of the original lawmakers who imposed order. And they said, maybe this will help, and it'll at least help start a conversation about order and why rules matter and what the rule of law means. I mean, that's the fundamental message that exists in our legal structures about Moses and what Moses stood for and the Ten Commandments stood for within our legal structure and our legal foundation. He is considered to be one of the original lawmakers and someone who contributed to the legal foundations of our country. That's a legitimate message for us to deliver in our schools, and it might also help deliver a message that does translate to other religious traditions, that we need order in order to be able to advance the educational mission.
Ms. Murriill, we do in this country recognize freedom to practice a multitude of religions, though. What do you say, and how many posters might we allow into classrooms from people of other religions who might want their religious principles posted as well?
I mean, I think that's a decision for the legislature. My job is to illustrate that this law can be applied constitutionally, and I'm dealing with the legislature, the law that the legislature wrote.
Exactly. I mean, and that, to my point again, I mean, the posters that would appear in schools would be the decision of the legislature, which is again the will of the people. And I think we forget that. We get caught up in that at some point in time and think that the legislature's out there acting really on their own. I can promise you, Ms. Murriill can attest to that, they don't do anything over there that they think is going to throw them out of their seats, right, or unelected. I think that they're out there reflecting the will of the people of the state of Louisiana.
And maybe two more.
So, thank you all. Yeah, one more?
Are you aware of any schools implementing these posters yet?
No, because they haven't actually been produced.
Okay. And when it comes to donations, what happens if there's not enough donations made to supply enough posters?
I think the law provides for people to make donations, and they'll produce posters as they can. I mean, I'm not sure what the total number would be that need to be produced or how much that would cost.
And Ms. Murriill, just to be clear, are you saying that all these posters are ways that you believe this law can pass constitutional muster by presenting them as teaching moments?
Yes, I mean, and just to kind of go back to something that I think is important to understand in the legal structure here. What the burden of proof is for the plaintiffs in this case is to show that there is not a single way to constitutionally apply this law. That's what a facial challenge to a law is. It is a challenge that says there is no possible constitutional application of this law. All of these posters, whether somebody picks one or doesn't pick one, illustrate that there are constitutional ways to apply this law. And so I think on that basis alone, on the merits, their claim fails. So, if somebody proceeds with a poster that looks different than the ones that we've drafted, that might be a different question, and we'd have to look at whether I think it constitutionally would comply or not. But there are a lot of ways that you can, and I think that's the point that we want to make. There was, this explosion of horror when the governor signed the law, and in fact, I think that was a great overreaction, and every one of these posters illustrates that. It shows how ubiquitous, how frequent the Ten Commandments comes up in our culture. And so every one of these illustrates that. This one is a quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So, I think that that if you look at each one of them, it just shows different ways that we can comply with the law and that it isn't going to cause the whole Constitution to cave under the weight of this law.
Does our law require it to be presented in such a fashion, or are we just calling for the 10 Commandments to be placed in classrooms?
Our law it requires that it have a context statement. And I think that the context statement is important. There has been litigation. One of these posters actually illustrates some of the litigation around the 10 Commandments. I think that's another teachable moment, that if somebody wants to know why are they up, why is this poster on the wall? Well, the legislature passed a law, and then we can talk about other litigation that's occurred over other attempts to post the 10 Commandments. So there are a lot of ways that you can create teachable moments from these posters and from the law itself. And I think that, that's a discussion that we should be having more of. And hopefully all of these posters are going to give us an opportunity to talk about all the different ways that it can be applied constitutionally.
Where's the petition being filed today?
The petition, we're filing a brief today in
Brief.
response to the preliminary injunction motion.
Where, what court?
Federal Court, Middle District, John DeGravels is the judge. We will post our brief on our website.
And the posters that y'all will produce, they'll look something like what y'all have, or will they be a little bit different?
I'm not sure yet what the produced posters will look like. We might identify a few that are our personal favorites over here at the Department of Justice. And if that's the ones, those are the ones that are produced, that's fine. So I'm not sure. I'm not involved in the actual production of the posters. I'm involved in defending the litigation.
Thank you.